Your outboard cranks but won't start, loses power at full throttle, sounds random alarms, or stalls when shifted into gear. Before paying expensive diagnostic fees, try the resets many mechanics use to solve common issues. In this video, you'll learn simple reset procedures that can clear faulty data, restore performance, and potentially save you hundreds in repair costs. Let's get started. Reset number 15, ECU Hard Reset. The full brain reboot. Your outboard's ECU, or ECM, depending on the brand, is the computer that controls timing, fuel, and every sensor reading. On modern 4-strokes and DFI 2-strokes, it runs the whole show. And like any computer, it gets stuck. One trip it runs perfect, the next it throws a fault, drops into guardian mode, and caps your RPM at 2000, so you're limping back to the ramp. Most of the time, nothing is actually broken. The ECU is just holding a stored fault after a low battery crank, a bad connection, or a sensor blip. Here's the reset. Step 1. Kill the engine and turn off the battery switch. Step 2. Disconnect the negative battery cable at the battery. Step 3. On the negative, then the positive, leave the cables off for a full 20 minutes so the capacitors in the ECU fully drain. This is the part people rush, and it's why their reset fails. Step 4. Reconnect positive first, then negative. Step 5. Turn the key on but don't crank. Wait for the fuel pump to prime and the gauge to sweep, then start. Let it idle on the muffs or at the dock for 5 minutes. What you just did is force the ECU to dump its stored adaptive values and short-term fault memory, so it stops running off bad data. Pro tip: on Mercury and Yamaha, a low battery during cranking is the #1 cause of phantom faults. Charge the battery fully before you blame the motor. If it still idles rough after this, the problem isn't the brain, it's what's feeding it air and fuel. That's the next reset. And here's where things start to feel serious. Reset number 14, idle relearn and throttle position sensor, baseline reset. You drop to idle and the motor hunts, surging up and down, or it stalls the moment you pull back to neutral at the no-wake zone. That's almost never a dead motor. It's the idle and throttle position values sitting out of sync after a battery disconnect, a throttle body cleaning, or a stored fault. The engine control unit needs to relearn where closed throttle actually is. Here's how. Step 1. Warm the motor to full operating temperature. The thermostat has to be open or the relearn won't take. Step 2. With it warm, let it idle in neutral completely untouched for 5 full minutes. Do not blip the throttle. That resets the timer every time. Step 3. Put a small load on it. Kick on any electronics and let it idle 2 more minutes. Step 4. Shut down, restart, and let it settle. On many electronic fuel injection outboards, the engine control unit captures a fresh idle baseline during that untouched warm idle. Pro tip: if your throttle body or idle air passages are carboned up, no reset on Earth will hold. A $10 can of throttle cleaner and a rag on the throttle plate before you relearn does more than any shop diagnostic. If the alarm is still nagging you, the next reset gets you straight into the motor's fault memory. And now, the pattern becomes a lot clearer. Reset number 13. Fault code read and clear with a cheap adapter. That warning horn and flashing light don't always mean disaster. Half the time it's a single stored code from a one-time event, an overheat blip, a low oil sender glitch, a lean pop at high RPM. But once it's stored, the alarm nags until it's cleared, and the shop charges you $100 to plug in and hit erase. You can do the exact same thing. For most Mercury, a cheap adapter and the right app. For Yamaha, an inexpensive diagnostic cable. And there are universal marine EFI readers too. Step 1. Find the diagnostic plug. Usually a small sealed connector in the rigging tube or under the cowl. Step 2. Connect the adapter and power up the app or reader with the key on, engine off. Step 3. Read the codes and actually write them down. They tell you what tripped and whether it's still live. Step 4. Hit clear. If the code stays or comes right back, you have a real active fault, not a ghost. Pro tip: note the freeze frame data if your reader shows it. Seeing that a code tripped at 5,800 RPM and 195 degrees tells you it was a real overheat, not a glitch, and that's information a mechanic would charge you to interpret. Now, what if the problem isn't the computer at all, but the way the motor breathes? But the next entry changes the way you see this completely. Reset number 12. TPS throttle position sensor relearn. You firewall the throttle and the motor hesitates, stumbles, or falls flat before it catches. Or the idle wanders for no reason. On drive-by-wire and many electronic fuel injection outboards, the throttle position sensor and the ECU have drifted out of calibration, so the computer no longer knows exactly where your throttle sits. Here's the relearn. Step 1. Key on, engine off. Let the gauges finish their sweep. Step 2. On mechanical throttle setups, confirm the throttle plate closes fully and opens fully by hand at the motor. Sticky linkage ruins the calibration. Step 3. On many systems, move the throttle slowly from idle to wide open and back, twice, smoothly, letting the ECU map the full sweep. Step 4. Key off, wait, restart, idle 3 minutes. What you've done is reteach the computer the sensor's true, minimum, and maximum. Pro tip: a lot of bad TPS outboards are really just a corroded plug. Unplug it, spray the pins with electrical contact cleaner, add dielectric grease, reseat, then relearn. Salt water lives in those connectors. If the motor still shifts or behaves oddly under load, the next reset is for the fuel side. But the next example is where most people get caught off guard. Reset number 11. Fuel system prime and vapor lock reset. The motor cranks and cranks but won't catch, or it starts then dies, especially after sitting in the heat. Before you condemn a fuel pump, know that outboards are famous for air in the fuel line and vapor lock, and both clear with a reset, not a repair. Step 1. Check and squeeze the primer bulb until it's firm, holding it with the outlet pointing up. A soft bulb means air in the system and the motor will starve. Step 2. If it's a newer motor with no bulb, cycle the key on and off 3 or 4 times without cranking, so the electric pump runs and pressurizes the rail each cycle. Step 3. Crack the vent, or open and reseat the fuel cap. A blocked tank vent pulls a vacuum and starves the motor within minutes of running fine. Step 4. On a hot vapor-locked motor, let it cool, reprime the bulb, then start. Pro tip: if you constantly lose prime overnight, your problem is a cracked primer bulb check valve or a weeping connector sucking air. A $2 fix that shops turn into a fuel pump replacement. Quote, "Stay with me, because the next reset is even simpler. And while you're here, hit like and subscribe so these tricks find other boaters too. If that stood out, this one will stand out even more." Reset number 10. Trim and tilt limit reset. Your power trim buzzes but barely moves, trims unevenly, or the motor won't tilt all the way up or down anymore. That's usually not a dead trim motor. It's the system lost its limit reference, or has air trapped in the hydraulics. Step 1. Run the trim fully down, all the way to the hard stop, and hold the button an extra 3 seconds. Step 2. Run it fully up to the hard stop and hold 3 seconds. Step 3. Cycle that full down-up sweep 2 or 3 times. This bleeds trapped air and re-references the end stops. Step 4. Check the trim fluid reservoir with the motor fully down and top it off if it's low. Fluid is the #1 cause of weak, jerky trim. Pro tip: if it groans and moves slowly only near the top, you're low on fluid or have air in the lines. And this full sweep cycle plus a top off fixes it far more often than a new trim pump. Now, if your gauges are the thing lying to you, the next reset is essential. And this is where the list starts to hit differently. Reset number 9. Gauge and SmartCraft, or digital display reset. your tach reads 0 while the motor's clearly running, the fuel gauge is stuck. Or your digital display throws a communication fault and won't talk to the engine. Before anyone sells you a new gauge, this is usually a network hiccup. Step 1. Kill the key and turn off the battery switch, then wait 2 full minutes so the whole network powers down, gauges included. Step 2. Check the network backbone connections on SmartCraft and NMEA setups. A single loose or corroded junction takes out the whole string. Step 3. Power back up and let the gauges complete their full self-test sweep without interrupting. Step 4. If a gauge stays dark, swap its network position with a known good one to see if the gauge or the wiring is at fault. Pro tip: 90% of dead gauge calls are a corroded network T or a backbone that lost power and terminator, not a failed gauge. Reseat every connection with dielectric grease before you spend a dime. Warning lights are one thing, but a motor that won't even acknowledge your key is worse. That's the next reset. But the next entry adds a completely new layer to this. Reset number 8. Overheat alarm and temperature sensor reset. The overheat horn screams, but the motor's not actually hot. The telltale P's strong and the power head's cool to the touch. A stuck stored overheat code or a glitchy temperature sender will hold that alarm hostage. First, always confirm it's a false alarm and not a real overheat. If in doubt, shut down. Step 1. Shut off and let the motor sit 5 minutes with the key off to clear the momentary alarm state. Step 2. Check the telltale stream and the water pressure. Real cooling means no overheat. If water's flowing strong, you're chasing a sensor. Step 3. Restart. If the alarm returns instantly with a cold motor, clear the stored code with your adapter from Reset 13. Step 4. Inspect and clean the temperature sensor connector. Corrosion there sends false high readings. Pro tip: never reset your way past a real overheat, but a cold motor screaming overheat is almost always a corroded sensor plug or a stuck code, not a blown water pump. Speaking of the motor refusing to cooperate, the next reset is for when it won't even crank. If that already surprised you, this one pushes it further. Reset number 7. Neutral safety and shift interrupt reset. You turn the key and get nothing, no crank, or the motor cuts out the instant you shift into gear. Everyone panics about the starter or the power head, but this is usually the neutral safety switch or shift interrupt system out of position. Step 1. Work the shifter fully into forward, then reverse, then firmly back to a true neutral detent. Controls drift out of the neutral window and lock out the starter. Step 2. On a binnacle control, check that the neutral interlock isn't stuck. Wiggle the shift arm while pressing the start button. Step 3. If equipped, check the lanyard kill switch clip is fully seated. A half-seated clip mimics a dead motor perfectly. Step 4. Cycle the key off and on and retry from a confirmed neutral. Pro tip: a huge number of won't start toes are just a control box that isn't quite in neutral or a tired neutral switch. Reseat the shifter before you call anyone. Now, if your motor thinks your key is a stranger, the next reset handles that. And just when it feels predictable, this entry flips the script. Reset number 6. Immobilizer and key or lanyard resync. On motors with electronic security or a wireless lanyard, you turn the key or clip on, and the motor refuses, flashing a security light while the battery is clearly fine. The engine thinks your key is not authorized. The security system lost its sync. Step 1. Use the original key or lanyard fob. Spares that were never properly paired will fail. Step 2. Key on, do not crank, and wait for the security light to finish its sequence. Some systems resync if you simply hold it in the on position for 15 seconds. Step 3. For wireless lanyard systems, remove the fob, wait, then present it again to the receiver following the pairing step, usually a specific key on cycle. Step 4. Key off, wait 30 seconds, and retry. Some motors need the sequence twice. Pro tip: a weak fob battery or a corroded receiver antenna causes most of these lockouts. Swap the fob battery before you assume the whole system failed. If your motor starts but will not rev out, the next 2 resets are the ones that matter most. But the next example might shock you. Reset number 5. Rev limiter and guardian mode reset. You push the throttle and the motor slams into a wall at 3,000 or 4,000 RPM, or it just won't make full power. That's guardian mode, or the rev limiter, protecting the engine after it saw a fault. Low oil pressure, high temperature, or low battery. Once it trips, it can stay latched even after the condition clears. Step 1. Address the actual cause. First, top the oil, confirm cooling, charge the battery. Guardian exists for a reason. Step 2. Once the condition is genuinely fixed, shut down completely and do the full ECU drain from reset 15, 20 minutes off the negative cable. Step 3. Clear the stored fault with your adapter so Guardian has nothing to latch onto. Step 4. Restart and test at the dock before you trust it on the water. Pro tip: on Mercury, chronic Guardian trips are overwhelmingly a low or dying battery under crank load. A $30 battery test saves you a $1,000 tear down. Now for the #1 motor complaint and the reset that fixes it. But here comes the twist. Reset number 4. Fuel trim and adaptive fuel reset. Your motor drinks fuel, feels lazy, stumbles off idle, or has slowly gotten worse over a season. On electronic fuel injection outboards, the engine control unit stores adaptive fuel trims, learned corrections based on your sensors. When a sensor drifts or you clean or change parts, those learned trims are now wrong, and the motor runs off bad math. Step 1. Make sure the basics are right first. Fresh fuel, good plugs, clean flame arrestor. Step 2. Do the full engine control unit reset from number 15 to wipe the stored adaptive fuel trims. Step 3. Let the motor idle warm and untouched so it can begin relearning from zero. Step 4. Take it out and run it through the full RPM range, gently. Steady cruise, a few clean pulls to wide open, so the engine control unit relearns correct trims across the band. Pro tip: do not hammer it cold right after the reset. Feed it clean, steady data for the first 20 minutes, and the fuel mapping settles far smoother. 2 resets left, and the next one brings a dead-feeling motor back to life. Now things start to change. Reset number 3. Battery isolator and voltage system reset. The motor cranks slow, gauges flicker, or electronics reset themselves mid-run. Everyone blames the battery, but on a boat, it's usually the connections and the isolator confusing the charging system. Step 1. Kill everything. Then clean and tighten every battery terminal and ground. Salt corrosion on a lug drops voltage enough to throw phantom faults. Step 2. If you run a battery switch or isolator, cycle it fully off. Wait a minute, and back on to reset the charging reference. Step 3. Check the main engine ground to the block. A bad engine ground causes the weirdest random electronics behavior on the whole boat. Step 4. Load test the battery. A battery that reads 12 volts sitting can still collapse under crank. Pro tip: more electrical gremlins on outboards are cured by cleaning one corroded ground lug than by any part you can buy. Chase connections before components. The next reset is the one shops least want you to know, and then this happens. Reset number 2. Trim sender and gauge calibration reset. Your trim gauge reads wrong, pinned high when the motor is fully down, stuck in the middle, or showing random positions, so you never really know your actual trim angle. Many shops immediately recommend replacing the trim sender, but in many cases it simply needs recalibration. Start by trimming the motor fully down until it rests firmly against the stop. On adjustable sender systems, loosen the sender bracket just enough to rotate it until the gauge reads full down, establishing the correct zero reference. Then trim the motor all the way up and confirm the gauge smoothly sweeps to full. If your system allows, fine-tune the sender's range so both ends of the gauge match the motor's actual position. Tighten everything securely, then cycle the trim up and down several times to verify the readings stay accurate. Before replacing any parts, inspect the sender's wiring, connector, and especially the ground. A corroded ground can produce the exact same symptoms as a failed sender. yet it often takes only a few minutes to clean and costs nothing to fix. And now, the number one reset, the one that fixes more outboards for free than any other. Now watch what happens next. Reset number 1. Full adaptive and total system reset, the master reboot. When your motor is just off, rough idle, poor economy, hesitation, nagging alarms, no single obvious cause, this is the reset that clears it all at once. It combines everything above into one clean slate, so the ECU rebuilds every learned value from scratch. Step 1. Fix the fundamentals first. Fully charged battery, clean grounds, fresh fuel, good plugs, firm primer bulb. A reset only holds on a healthy motor. Step 2. Disconnect the negative battery cable and leave it off a full 20 minutes to completely drain the ECU. No shortcuts. Step 3. While it's open, clean and dielectric grease every sensor and network connector you can reach. This is where the real magic is. Most persistent faults are connection faults. Step 4. Reconnect. Key on and let it prime. Then start and idle warm and untouched for a full 5 minutes, so idle and fuel baselines reset. Step 5. Take it out and run the complete RPM range gently for 20 minutes, so every adaptive value relearns clean. What you just did is give the entire engine management system a fresh start. Exactly what a shop does on their computer, except you did it for free. Pro tip: do this master reset at the start of every season, after winter storage, and any time you've disconnected the battery, and you'll skip most of the mystery problems that send other boaters to the shop. If this answered some questions, subscribe and stick around for more.